Welcome back everyone, Meanpooh here, and today I've got the GIGABYTE RTX 5090 Gaming OC graphics card. There are already tons of videos covering the 5090 specs, so instead of tearing it down, I'm giving you a quick unboxing, some general specs, the installation, and a few game benchmarks to help you decide if this monster is right for your setup. The 5090 Gaming OC has a core clock of 2550 MHz, 21,760 CUDA cores, a memory clock of 28 gigabits per second, and a massive 32 gigabytes of GDDR7 RAM. The memory has a 512-bit bus and uses PCIe 5.0. It has a max resolution of 7680 by 4320. The card has 4 outputs, 1 HDMI 2.1B and 3 DisplayPort 2.1B. The card supports DirectX 12 API and OpenGL 4.6. For power, the card has a 12V 2x6 to 4x PCIe 8-pin adapter. The recommended power supply unit for this card is 1000 watts. Lastly, the Gaming OC measures 342mm in length, 152mm in width, and 70mm in height, with a weight of 4.94 pounds. Inside the container, we have a black box that has the GIGABYTE branding on the top. Opening the box, there is a black envelope with the GIGABYTE branding. The envelope is embedded in the foam packing. Removing the top piece of foam reveals the contents surrounded by dense foam packing. It's packed tightly and there is zero chance that anything will be moving around in transit. With the items removed, up close we have the elbow bracket, a long vertical support bar, a shorter vertical support bar, a 90-degree foot for the vertical support bar, a plastic bag containing 2 screws, 2 washers, and an adjustment screw. And lastly, we have the 12V 2x6 to 4x PCIe 8-pin adapter. Inside the black envelope, we have an installation guide, a quick guide, and a warranty registration card. Registering on the site will activate the 4-year warranty. You'll need your serial number, check number, and receipt. On this side of the card, we can see the cooling system with the metal fins and heat pipes to keep the card cool. On over, there is the 16-pin connector, which allows 600 watts of power. Right next to it is the BIOS switch, which can put the card into silent or performance mode. On the cooler, there are 2 LEDs that light up. If you want a different look, the GIGABYTE branding can be slid over like a shroud. On around, there are 3 display ports and 1 HDMI. You also can see the metal heat pipe running through the cooling system. This thing is pretty thick and will take 3 slots in your PC. I had to remove my Wi-Fi 7 card just to make it fit. On this side, you can see more of the inner workings of the card, such as the PCB itself, along with VRMs and the thermal putty. This is also the side which inserts into your motherboard. On down, there is the power connectors for the 3 fans. On around, there are 3 screw holes for the support bracket. The bracket can be mounted in front of the card or behind. In either case, only 2 holes max can be used. There's also the words "Game On" printed on the cooler. This is the view from the top. It shows the WindForce cooling system using GIGABYTE's Hawk fans. From the side, it says that they feature a unique blade design inspired by the aerodynamics of an eagle's wing. It also says that it reduces air resistance and noise levels, resulting in up to a 53.6% increase in air pressure and a 12.5% increase in air volume without compromising acoustics. You know, honestly, I don't think most people will mind or probably know what that means, but they're just trying to say that it's quiet. Okay, it's just quiet. Okay, so the fans on the end spin counterclockwise while the middle fan spins clockwise. The fans will turn off depending on the load. GIGABYTE is calling this 3D active, which boils down to the fans turning off until a certain load is detected. The card has what GIGABYTE calls an armored look. It features a multi-layered structure combined with varied surface material finishes. They pretty much wanted this to look like a piece of steel. If you look hard enough, the words "dominating the games" is on the top between the 2 fans on the right. Gaming is also printed on the bottom between the 2 fans on the left, and the word "Code Cyborg" is right under the middle fan and various indentions and markings all over the card. The whole top piece is plastic and there's nothing metal about it. It's pure gaming flair for real, and I have no clue what code cyborg means. If you know what it is, put it in the comment section. On the bottom there is a metal backplate to protect the card from damage. It's okay, but in my opinion, the XFX Radeon RX 7900 XTX had a backplate that was thicker and better. You can also see the bottom of the PCB and just under it the NVIDIA GB202 GPU. All around the bottom there are different designs based around the gamer aesthetic. Of course there's the GIGABYTE GeForce and gaming branding, and right at the end you can see more of the heatsink. Here's a close-up of the power connector and the BIOS switch. Here is the slide plate. Here are some photos at different angles of the gaming OC. To install the card holder, place your card on a flat surface. Make sure to take precautions to ground yourself out or do your best to be static free. I've mentioned this before in other videos, so you know how it goes. Anyway, grab the elbow bracket and align as such. I will be mounting from the back. Grab 2 screws and put the washers on them as shown. Screw the bracket on. You don't need a power drill to do this. Next, choose your bracket. I will be using the shorter one of the two. The vertical support will go into the foot support. It just slides right in. This is how it will look in the case. Go ahead and mount your card inside the PC. Attach the vertical support. Then screw in the adjustment screw. Get it nice and snug. On my power supply, I use 4 8-pin connectors to power the GPU. These are the connectors from below the card. Make sure these are snug as well and that the clasp is engaged. Now plug in the power connector to the GPU. This connector also has to fit tightly with no gaps, and the clasp should be engaged on top so it cannot come out. That's it. Now you're done. Before I fire this thing up, here's the 7900 XTX and RTX 5090 side by side. The 7900 XTX is around the same length and almost has a full metal housing. The 5090 is wider and slightly thicker and heavier. Here are a few quick specs. Here are some photos of the card while the machine is booted and idling in Windows. So my room temperature is around 21.6 C. Idle temps in Windows, I was getting in the lower 30s to the lower 40s. And low temps while playing games, I was getting in the lower 60s to lower 70s. Also, I didn't hear any coil whine or weird noises. Very clean acoustics. It should be for the money. Next, I have a few benchmarks in the technical variety for those that are interested. GPU-Z shows some detailed information about the video card, including temperature. TimeSpy Extreme gave me a score of 17,425, and Port Royal had a score of 37,694. Using FireMark, which is a stress test tool, gave me 30,740 points at 1080p. At 1440p, the score was 24,307. And at 4K, I received 14,573 points. The next part of the FireMark test I ran the stress test tool for 5 minutes and let it cool for 2 minutes before starting the next. There's a lot of info here, so you're just gonna have to pause it. Geekbench gave me a score of 386,562 for OpenCL and 377,138 for Vulkan. These are the results for the 3 Blender samples, Monster, Junk Shop, and Classroom below. Using Unigen Superposition Benchmark, I tested both DirectX and OpenGL. 1080p Extreme DirectX had a score of 29,295. 4K Optimized was 46,173, and 8K Optimized resulted in 19,363. OpenCL at 1080p Extreme resulted in 24,296, 4K Optimized gave 37,799, and 8K Optimized resulted in 17,295. Before we dive into the gameplay benchmarks, I just want to explain how I present the data. Some people may not agree with my method, but as a gamer, I aim to show you the real FPS you can expect and not just some random number on a screen. Now, if a game includes a built-in benchmark tool, I'll use it to provide a baseline result. Then I'll run the game using selected settings, usually a preset to capture the actual in-game performance. I try to follow the same path and movements in each run to keep things consistent and fair as possible. For games where that's not feasible, like Marvel Rivals for example, I'll play multiple rounds and take the average FPS to give you a reliable number. Alright, let's start off with Battlefield 2042 at 4K using the built-in presets. Ultra settings gave me 183 frames per second on average with a 1% low of 100 FPS. Next up, I enabled DLSS while keeping everything else on Ultra. With DLSS on, the card pushed an average of 222 FPS and a 1% low of 120. Then I turned on ray tracing while still using Ultra and DLSS. With ray tracing enabled, I got an average of 185 FPS and a 1% low of 104 FPS. So even with ray tracing, the performance barely took a hit. Very impressive.
Ammo, I've got plenty. Don't die on me! Have this hurt!
110 meters!
Now hold more sectors than they do. Good work. We've taken Sector Echo.
We are attempting to take Charlie 2.
Delta.
Don't die on me!
Too close!
Focus your hostile! He might...
Bravo 1 under attack by hostiles.
Objective secured by enemy forces. Alpha sector.
Next, let's move on to Returnal, also running at 4K. I started with the in-game benchmark first. On epic settings, I got 112 FPS. Enabling DLSS quality mode bumped that up to 156 FPS. Then I turned on frame generation, and oddly enough, it dropped down to 110 FPS. That's a rare case where frame gen didn't help and actually made things worse in the benchmark. Now let's talk about real gameplay performance here. On just epic settings, I saw 123 FPS average and 1% lows around 74. With DLSS quality on top of that, the average rose to 172 and 1% lows hit 93. Enabling frame generation with the same DLSS quality settings took things even further. 226 FPS on average with 1% lows of 156. That's a huge performance jump, and it felt buttery smooth in action. So now let's talk about a fan favorite of mine. It's Guilty Gear Strive. I love everything about this game. The animation, just everything. It's very, very nice. I can feel this game. But anyway, this one's frame locked at 60 FPS, so don't expect any wild numbers here. At max settings, I got a solid 60 FPS with 1% lows dipping to 40. Yeah, I know it's not a demanding title and probably didn't need testing, but I love the game and I figured why not include it.
Heaven or hell. Ramlethal versus Faust. Duel 1. Let's rock.
Next up is Far Cry New Dawn, running at 4K with the Ultra preset and the built-in benchmark. The average FPS was 223 with the 1% lows of 179. This game runs extremely well, no stutters, very smooth gameplay, and not surprising with this card. I mean, it's a 5090.
The highwaymen have got people stealing goods off corpses. These guys
Now let's talk about Forza Horizon 5. I tested with the Extreme preset using the in-game benchmark tool. Without DLSS, performance score was 94 FPS. Turning DLSS on gave me 93 FPS, which is basically the same. Then I enabled frame generation on top of that and the performance jumped up to 156 FPS. Now for the actual gameplay performance. Using the Extreme preset, I got 138 FPS on average with 1% lows of 84. Enabling DLSS bumped that to 142 FPS average and 85 FPS for 1% lows. With DLSS enabled and frame gen active, the average shot up to 213 FPS with 1% lows of 101. That's a huge improvement and it looks fantastic in motion. It really does. The game is smooth, man. Alright, now on the Lies of P. Using the best preset, I got 187 FPS on average with 1% lows at 101. Enabling DLSS quality mode with that same preset, I hit an impressive 265 FPS average and 1% lows of 162. This game not only looks amazing, but also runs incredibly smooth with the 5090, even during combat heavy scenes. Next, let's talk about Marvel Rivals, starting with the built-in benchmark. Using the Ultra preset with DLSS quality, I got an average FPS of 86 with 1% lows at 57. Enabling 4x frame gen with those same settings, the average jumped to 284 FPS with 1% lows of 164. That's a massive uplift, and you can definitely feel the responsiveness. Now for the actual gameplay results. On Ultra preset with DLSS, I got 110 FPS average with 1% lows at 42. Turning on 4x frame gen again, boosted the average to 309 FPS with 1% lows at 41. So in gameplay, the average was sky high, but 1% lows didn't improve. Still, visually it felt incredibly smooth.
Don't mess with Empire State University! Sure those are bad guys.
Pride of the neighborhood. You captured.
I know hiding in turrets.
I'll get you next. The area is almost yours.
You get a weapon! You get a weapon! You get a...
Judge, jury, execute!
Cavalier.
I'm hulking!
I'm good.
A sniper! Clever! Battlefield ready again.
Undefeatable.
Here they come.
Plasma. Go.
The thunder!
I feel like myself again. Your powers are mine!
Good to go.
I think I got all the spider bots. Thanks.
Moving on to MindsEye, it didn't have a built-in benchmark, so these are the real gameplay numbers. On epic settings with DLSS quality, I averaged 80 FPS with 1% lows of 41. Enabling 4x frame gen brought the average up to 243 FPS with 1% lows still around 41. So while the high FPS looks great on paper, you might not feel a huge difference in consistency unless you're pushing your refresh rate.
This is Lens Media. Personalized to you with a high of 130. Sunscreen is advised.
You're the facilities manager? Hey. Call Rigby?
These rogue bots aren't responding to instructions, so they need to be deactivated immediately.
Not a problem.
Let me know when it's done.
What are they doing? Whatever it is, I'm stopping it.
Something super weird about this. I'm finding cover. Getting to use your gun on the first day. I do not get paid enough for this. Actually, I kind of do, but I hate it. Shoot 'em.
Those robots have been deactivated.
You've got a notification to deal with.
Understood. I take it this kind of thing doesn't happen every day.
It doesn't have insidious cop bots. They are just one cog in Red Rock's S.T.A.L.K.E.R.
Diaz. This is Lens Media. Weather at your current location is sunny. Chances of a sandstorm are moderate.
Over here!
Call Rigby. I've got Seb. We're on our way.
These robots,
Not a problem.
let me know when it's done.
What the hell are they doing? Something super weird about this. Getting to use your gun on the first day. I'm just the workhorse of the Silver Ranger process. Abnormality absorbed. I do not get paid enough for this. That was close. Let's get the hell out of here.
Those robots have been deactivated.
I noticed.
Man, that was some creepy shit out. It doesn't happen ever. They are just one cog in Red Rock's all-sim RE. Get it? Care.
Moving on to Witcher 3, it had a lot of settings, so I started with Ray Tracing Ultra. And with that alone, I got an average of 60 FPS and 1% lows around 50. Enabling DLSS quality pushed the average to 91 FPS with 1% lows at 73. Then turning on frame generation brought it up even more. 143 FPS average with 1% lows at 89. Looks stunning and played buttery smooth just like the rest of the games I've played, and especially for such a visually demanding title, and Hairworks was enabled.
He's casted spells! The overseer! Blood for blood, bruv!
That's enough of that.
How do you wish to die? No fire! Shit.
You'll never learn.
Blood for blood, brothers!
Mistake.
We shall cook you, vermin! Eternal fire!
pathetic. Come on. That's enough of that.
Blood for blood, brothers! Get him from the left! Help! Eternal fire!
What? Lost your nerve? How long you gonna make me
How do
wait?
you wish to shots alone?
Time to end this. Damn it. Not good.
Okay, so let's move on to Stalker 2. On native Epic settings, I averaged 71 FPS, with 1% lows around 49. Turning on DLSS quality gave me a nice boost, which was 99 FPS average and 1% lows at 65. Adding frame generation to the mix brought it up to 151 FPS average with 1% lows around 99. The improvements here were dramatic, especially with the frame gen enabled. It felt, I hate to say it, smooth, even in heavier scenes. I'm using smooth a lot. I might have to use a different word, but it's smooth, man. I'm impressed.
Come over here. We need some.
hurt us. Hold on, brother.
Come over here.
Don't scare this beast off.
Hey, loner. Come over here.
For Still Wakes the Deep, I ran it using Epic settings, DLAA, and frame generation. I got an average FPS of 142 and 1% lows around 58. It's a visually dark and intense game, and despite the high graphical fidelity, performance stayed stable and immersive.
Hans, why don't we do the checklist before Rob's back?
Delicate for such conditions. Under that kind of pressure, Alright, let's get to it. Water temperature?
Looks like 41 degrees. No reason to keep him waiting now.
I'm fine. So, had a good swim?
Aye. From there, it just keeps going on and on. No soon. I did find you an entrance, though.
Oh, yeah?
I'll speak up if there's a problem.
Copy.
Huh? And a debris pile. There's no...
Auto.
What? Still intact?
Yeah. Fuck.
What?
A body.
Already.
Okay, done.
Turn off your product. It's like slurping soda with a straw. You find?
A small Hindu idol. Bones of this place are just sitting.
Take it nice and...
The offices.
Okay, tracking you.
Holy shit!
Oh, what?
It's
oh.
This isn't one we want to show the
Are
family.
you sure it's coral?
No. Fuck! Parts of the ceiling fell down behind me. My god. Is this? This can't be. There's an air pocket. Oh my god. Okay, well, this is something at least. Now back to the bed. The bell. What is that? How much is falling down there? I've got to get there. Rob.
Next up is Tempest Rising, which really surprised me on how well it performed. On Epic settings, I got 144 FPS average and 1% lows of 104, already great. Enabling DLSS highest quality, bumped it up to 165 FPS with 1% lows at 107. Then with frame gen enabled, performance hit 216 FPS on average and 1% lows at 158. That's incredibly fluid for a real-time strategy type.
Commander, Captain Cragen, I have boots on the ground. Engaged. Finding vantage. Camouflaged. Anyone near?
Spy drones online. Control spy drone.
Taking new position. Target logged. Lights out. Keeping low. Somewhere else? Engineers. I'm seeing a machine shop up ahead. We could use the armor, but we can't capture it without engineers. Catch 22. Taking the shot. You got it. Trembly, thought we'd lost you.
Injuries I can patch up.
The enemy base lies to the north. It holds intel on Dynasty operations.
Just get us to that conyard, and we'll get you your intel. Holding ground. All right. We've got these old junkers purring.
Building captured.
Confirmed, HQ.
Commander, we have the Conyard. I'm receiving the files now. Just buy me some time.
A sky crane is en route for extraction. He has dug in ahead of your position. Use the Dynasty construction yard to build up your forces. Defend the construction yard while data is transferring.
You got a name?
Constructing. Constructing. Unit lost. Our base is under attack. Unit ready. Our base is under attack.
Let's go.
Primary objective accomplished.
Intel acquired. Let's get to the extraction point.
Confirmed, HQ. Get back!
So let's wrap things up with Cyberpunk 2077, the game that's basically a GPU benchmark in disguise. Because it is, it really is. I mean, like, there's so many settings you can choose, and it needs to be fixed, really. So since it has so many settings, I stuck with the main presets: Ultra, Ray Tracing Ultra, Ray Tracing Ultra Overdrive, and Ray Tracing Overdrive with Frame Gen. And before running any of the gameplay or synthetic benchmarks, I restarted the game between each test to make sure that the setting applied properly. And yeah, CD Projekt Red really needs to fix the settings menu. I mean, this thing has been a mess since day one. For the synthetic results, using Ultra, I got 175.87 FPS. Ray Tracing Ultra gave me 134.18 FPS. Ray Tracing Overdrive, 99.25 FPS. Overdrive plus Frame Gen 2X, 162.52 FPS. Overdrive plus Frame Gen 3X, 231.60 FPS. And lastly, Overdrive plus Frame Gen 4X, 295.04 FPS. That is a massive jump, especially when you stack on multiple layers of frame generation. I'm starting to sound like a PR guy, but I'm impressed. Anyway, now for the real gameplay. I used the same presets but didn't manually select 3x or 4x for frame generation because you can't. When you enable frame gen in game, it just turns on without giving you a multiplier. Also, DLSS gets set to auto when using presets. So for Ultra, I got 168 FPS on average and 1% lows around 88. Ray Tracing Ultra, I got 132 FPS on average with 1% lows around 90. Ray Tracing Overdrive netted me 95 FPS average with 1% lows at 72. Lastly, Ray Tracing Overdrive and Frame Gen, I got a whopping 290 FPS on average, but 1% lows dipped to 64. And you know, based on the performance of how it lines up with the synthetic benchmark, it looks like Frame Gen 4X was active during gameplay, even though the game doesn't label it.
Watch!
Oh, it's you. Come here and let's do this. Ah, forget it. Don't worry. Slam!
Nail that fucker to the... Don't let up! I'll piss on your fucking grave! Kicking back or what? Don't piss on me, man. It's on. They know that, you know. Hold on! This the fucker! Gonna get medieval on your ass! It's hard! Charge!
Oh, it's you. Yeah.
Fucker's eating my leg! Nail it! Yo, we are shit! Fuck! Swapping lead! Go, go, go! I'll piss on your fucking grave!
Hey, go fuck yourself!
I'm gonna make you bleed! This ain't good! Show 'em what we're made of! Been waiting! Dick's hard!
Corpo, right? Shit.
So what do I think about the card? Well, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but if you are trying to play in 4K and want the highest possible frame rates, then this thing is worth every penny. There are plenty of cards out there that can game in 4K, such as the 6900 XT, the RTX 3080, RTX 4080, and the 9070 XT. You might not get the extreme FPS, but these cards cost less and you will more than likely get your money's worth dollar per frame. You also must remember that not all games need to run with max settings. Medium settings are fine. Hell, I was surprised with the frame gen. I'm not a fan of it and actually think that since AI is doing a lot of the work, then the price of the card should be going down instead of up. So with frame gen, you can get a good boost on an older card that would allow you to run at those higher graphic settings that you may have wanted to use. This is not guaranteed for all, but the most you could probably go from would be like going from a medium setting to maybe high or ultra. You could also drop your resolution, but doing that from 1080p would not look good on most newer games. And the card can't be too old, as the makers of these cards will limit which graphics cards can use the technology. Anyway, getting back to the 5090. I really like it that it has 32 gigabytes of onboard RAM, and knowing that this should be viable for the next 4 to 5 years or more. I can say that because I still have a 9070 running in the house. In some games such as Guilty Gear, it had a cool temp of around 45C. Now, granted, the GPU usage was low, and I think the CPU might have been doing a little bit of the heavy lifting there, so that probably caused it to go down, stay lower. But still, 45C on a game, it's pretty good. And during other games, the card stayed around the low 60s to low 70s. That's great, man. I mean, can't ask for more than that. I'm blown away by it. There's not really much else to say about it other than it can run anything you throw at it. There was no coil whine whatsoever or any of those weird noises that come from some other cards. It comes with a 4-year warranty that may be non-transferable. The card is rather large, and I did not like removing my Wi-Fi card just to get it in there. It also puts out some serious heat when in heavy gaming sessions. I've had this card for 12 days now, and it's Friday, June 27th, 2025. And I feel like the purchase was worth it, since I would get the use out of it, and the resale value on these higher end cards, they hold up pretty well. This really made me think after I was done testing this video card. And it's been on my mind for a long time. When you really look at what's happening with the industry, not every game needs to push cutting edge visuals at max settings to be enjoyable. In fact, games such as Skyrim, Minecraft, Undertale, and Stardew Valley are some of the most memorable games ever made. They had modest graphics, but you know, they nailed the experience, story, and mechanics. The current push for ultra high-res textures, ray tracing, and cinematic effects often comes at the cost of optimizations. Some developers chase visual fidelity so hard that they forget a huge chunk of gamers, such as us, still use GPUs with 6 to 8 gigabytes of VRAM. Think about the ones with laptops. Most of those have 8 gigabytes of RAM, and they're actually starting to go up just a little bit, but that's on the higher end versions. And not everyone has or wants to spend $1,000+ on a GPU just to play a new release smoothly. That's insane. When it really comes down to it, a well-optimized game with scalable settings should be the goal. That way, a wide range of players can enjoy it without needing a monster rig. Plus, good gameplay never needs ray tracing shadows to be fun. If you grew up in the 90s, you know that statement's true. With that said, that's all I have, and I'll see you in the next one.